Welcome to the Connections community. My name is Elizabeth Parks and I'm the president of Parks Associates, a market research and consulting firm focused on emerging consumer technologies. Since 1986, we've been looking closely at emerging products in the home for consumers, consumer devices and services like home security and automation, connected entertainment, connected health, and broadband services in the home. This year would have been our 24th year to host our signature event, Connections, the premier connected home conference. We would also be hosting our 15th annual Connections Europe event in November in Amsterdam. While it's an enormous disappointment that we can't host our in-person events this year, we know they play a huge role in networking, visibility for leading players in the smart home space, and interacting with our analyst team and key players. In place of these events, we're bringing you the Connections community, a virtual experience that will take place through the end of November. We will be live streaming our analysts, industry leaders, and hosting panel discussions through the SwapCard platform, where attendees can log in for live viewing, view past recorded sessions, and interact with fellow Connections community participants during our live sessions. We want to thank our sponsors of our events, many of whom have supported our efforts for years. We really are striving to bring individuals together to network and communicate about the important issues our industries are facing, particularly as we all navigate the new way to accomplish things. Our Connections community platform allows for a live stream view and conversations with our community members. You can ask questions, chat with the group, chat with individuals, and even have a video meeting spontaneously with community members. Following the session, we'll have open networking discussions on video for more dialogue with our analyst team and community members. We have already had some great sessions on the platform as part of the Connections community experience. If you're just joining us, or if you missed a previous session, you can go back on the agenda calendar to watch these on demand. These virtual experiences lead up to 3 days of networking fun, where Parks Associates will present a state of the smart home market, the value in elevated user experiences, monitoring and expansion beyond security systems, smart home platforms, seniors and technology, and the impact of new technologies focused on proactive and predictive analytics, as well as the impact of 5G and Wi-Fi 6. We are proud to bring together over 1,000 executives so far, with more members joining daily. Our team looks forward to your feedback. For any comments or interest in learning more about visibility options or speaking, please reach out to me or any of our team members. Use the question tab to ask your questions or to upvote your favorite questions from other attendees. You can also answer polling questions under polls to give your live vote. Our analysts and panel speakers will be addressing your questions and the polling answers during the live stream. Ask your questions early in the presentation, as our analysts will choose the most upvoted questions to be addressed by the session speakers. If you have any questions during the stream about SwapCard, our team is standing by to help. Just drop a message in the chat or message one of Parks Associates team members via the Parks Associates company page. We want to make sure you're connecting with our industry-leading sponsors in the smart home space. You can visit any sponsor during the session by navigating to the Sponsors tab, browse sponsors, or bookmark the ones that interest you for later. Contact the sponsor via chat, view uploaded documents, watch welcome videos, and more. Have you created your personal event agenda on SwapCard? Go to the Agenda tab, view different sessions under each date, add the sessions that interest you to your personal event agenda. You can access your personal event agenda by clicking the My Event tab. Export your agenda to your calendar to receive reminders and a direct link to your registered sessions. The number of connected devices continues to expand year over year, and 2019 concluded on a particularly strong note for the security industry. Security system adoption reached 1/3 of all U.S. broadband households at the end of the year. Consumers now have an average of 12 connected devices in their homes, which opens multiple opportunities to extend monitoring services, as well as different varieties of both professional monitoring and monitor it yourself options. Our team forecasts that total professional monitoring revenue for the U.S. residential security sector will total $15.7 billion in 2020, with smart home services accounting for $1.2 billion. COVID-19 pandemic and resulting economic fallout create a more challenging landscape in 2020, specifically as consumers will look to reduce household spending. Central monitoring is a high-margin business, and many stations have excess monitoring capacity, driving the industry to expand its value proposition beyond the standard security offering. As more aspects of daily life get connected, and as people spend more time in the home, new opportunities emerge across multiple industries, including energy usage monitoring, risk mitigation from flood and fire, monitoring the health and safety of aging relatives, tracking of valuables, and appliance maintenance monitoring. We look forward to sharing more from this report, IoT Extending Professional Monitoring for New Revenue, at our upcoming events.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back. I'm Jennifer Kent, Senior Director of Research with Parks Associates, and we're going to go ahead and get the afternoon session started. There was a lot of great insights this morning that I'm sure we're going to carry into our conversations this afternoon, and hopefully you enjoyed those networking discussions. This next session is all about the evolving DIY market and what it means for the smart home and residential security markets. Again, thank you to our sponsors. We couldn't do this without you. We're so pleased to have your support so that we can keep this Connections community together and going and keep having these great conversations as an industry. And thank you again to Gadgeon, who sponsored that networking break and those discussions that you all just had, and that you're hopefully coming back to and ready to dive into some new content here. So again, in this session, we're diving into a key way that the market currently divides between products and systems that are professionally provided, installed, monitored, versus those that consumers acquire, set up, and sometimes monitor themselves. These two ways of acquiring and using products really cuts across the residential security space as well as the larger smart home space. So during this session, I'm going to dive into a little bit of Parks Associates data on this point, and then we'll hear from Raya Sevilla, the SVP of Information Technology at ADT, with a visionary insight talk on the many new faces of home security, followed by a panel of leading industry experts on the impact of DIY on the smart home and security space. Then we'll break again for more networking discussion. So first, let's take a look at how DIY solutions have increasingly taken hold of the market. The installation method for newly acquired security systems and smart home devices has trended towards self-installation for several years. So as you can see here, this is again security systems that were acquired in the prior 12 months, so newly acquired systems. They've been slowly taking a larger share of the overall security systems market. As of July 2020, 55% of households who purchased a security system in the previous 12 months chose a self-installation option, compared to 1/3 reporting professional install, which is interesting. It's a near flip of the situation that we found just 2 years prior in 2018, when 55% told us that they had chosen a professionally installed system. Multiple factors converge to cause this trend. DIY security solutions eliminate the cost of professional installation, of course, and in many cases have no fees or low fees for self-monitoring or lower fees for professional monitoring that are attached to those systems. We've seen new entrants for security come into the market, also added options for DIY systems as two additional factors driving this. And in addition, self-monitoring via smartphone, really does appear to be adequate to a portion of security system adopters. Not only do we think self-installation, of course, is a cost-effective method for getting into security, but it also doesn't rely on a professional technician to enter the home and install a system. And so while these aspects of a DIY system may become increasingly more appealing in this post-COVID-19 era, right? So while the market has trended this way for several years now, COVID-19 may be hastening this transition as households look to avoid the risk of infection and allowing people into their homes. This trend does not look like it will abate anytime soon. 61% of those who intend to acquire a security system in the next 12 months indicate they are likely to self-install their system, with 39% indicating they would prefer professional installation. Now, if we look on the smart home side, similarly, smart home products are much more likely to be self-installed versus professionally installed. That varies by product category, of course. Products that require hard wiring or they're commonly sold through a service channel are much more likely to be professionally installed. So garage door openers, smart thermostats, right, more likely to be professionally installed. Consumers tend, overwhelmingly to handle products like smart TVs, smart plugs, light bulbs on their own. And before you ask, what 10% of folks are getting a professional installer to put their smart light bulb in, you can assume that they acquired it, right, likely with a bundle of other devices from a pro install as part of a system, right? And so technically those were professionally installed, even though it's just a light bulb. That being said, is DIY as easy as it looks? So we asked smart home device owners who set their devices up on their own how difficult that was for them. 31% rated the installation difficult. For the more complicated installs or installs dealing with wiring, again, smart garage door openers, outdoor light fixtures, in-wall switches and dimmers, things that you might consider getting an electrician for, right, or that deal with that wiring aspect. Difficulty rates are even higher. Higher percent of people rating those types of self-installations very difficult, right? 6 to 7 on a 7-point scale. But of course, the actual installation of the device is only one part of setup. So that initial setup and onboarding also includes other challenges like getting the device to connect to the router, configuring settings, learning how to use the device. Ultimately, poor setup experiences can result in product returns and poor NPS scores. So while DIY is attractive, of course, and a growing and a first choice for a lot of consumers, that doesn't mean it's the perfect choice either, or the perfect experience. Now, interestingly, the story gets more complex when you look at what's happening in the pro dealer channel. So Parks Associates every year surveys security dealers, across the country to get the boots on the ground view. What are they seeing? We've heard the consumer side, really what's the voice of the channel. And so we are seeing that professional security dealers are now also selling DIY systems, and increasingly so. Now, you'll see that 100% of them here tell us that they sell pro-installed, pro-monitored residential security systems. That's a requirement to get into the survey. So all of our dealers are pro-install dealers, right, that come into our survey work. But among them, 40% report in 2020 that they are installing DIY systems, mostly with monitoring attached, but some without monitoring, and both of those options being up significantly from 2019. Now, we asked dealers who sell DIY systems. So this 40% of dealers who are telling us that they are selling DIY systems, why are you doing that? What is driving that for you? Why do you offer them? The number one reason that comes back is simply consumer demand. Consumers want them, so we sell them. They're asking for them. Dealers also tell us that secondary reasons really are that they make a good margin on the hardware, or even if they just break even on the hardware, they ultimately profit from the monitoring fees. So several different reasons that we're seeing pro dealers getting into the DIY market. Of course, the hypothesis may be that security dealers would naturally see DIY systems as a threat to their traditional business, but we don't find that to be universally true. So 49% of security dealers, of all security dealers, regardless of whether they are currently installing DIY or not. So of all the security dealers we surveyed, 49% said they see DIY as a new revenue opportunity, attracting different customers than their pro install business and the professional systems that they offer. But there's still a solid third, actually more than a third, of dealers who do see DIY as a threat to their pro install sales. So we expect this push and pull of DIY versus pro, or DIY and pro, to continue to play out in the market. We're seeing that with some of the key players in the market. In early August, Google and ADT announced a new partnership where Google is buying a 6% stake in ADT for an investment of $450 million. Both companies have also committed to investing an additional $150 million each on co-marketing, product development, technology, training, right? In their press announcement, the companies highlighted the integration of Google's hardware and services into both ADT's DIY and pro installed smart home security solutions. And then just a few weeks ago, I'm sure you saw, Google announced the discontinuation of its about 3-year-old Google Nest Secure alarm system. So this may, raise questions about the staying power of the DIY security system market, but maybe it's also an opportunity for its DIY competitors to capitalize on Nest's exit. And in fact, those DIY competitors are certainly not sitting still. Both SimpliSafe and Ring announced new channel partnerships in the past several months to cast a wider net for new customers. So I want to talk a little bit about these partnerships, and we actually have both on our panel later, and we'll hear a little bit more from them about that. But in July, Reliant Energy, which is a retail energy provider in Texas, which is where Parks Associates is located, and SimpliSafe announced a new collaboration to provide renters and homeowners in Texas with special offers and discounts. So Reliant provides customers with a special offer from SimpliSafe for a SimplyCam HD security camera and the first 2 months of interactive monitoring for free with the purchase of a qualified new system. SimpliSafe's devices and packages are also available through this custom online ordering platform for Reliant customers. And then SimpliSafe also has this dedicated customer line for Reliant customers. So for Reliant, this move represents how this electricity company, this energy provider, is trying to align with other innovative tech-driven businesses to provide the best in home energy tech solutions, while also addressing comfort and safety. And we've seen Reliant really be a leader in kind of branching out from their energy core to other home services. And so that's where this partnership comes in. For SimpliSafe, the partnership with an industry leader in retail energy helps make its home security solutions even more accessible. Now, Amazon announced in September it is expanding its relationship with Verizon offering its customers the Ring Alarm Security Kit with Verizon LTE for about $230 and the Security by Ring plan, which is about $10 a month. So this partnership offers Verizon customers a couple advantages. First, just a bundle discount, as you can expect. So customers receive $50 off a Ring Alarm Security Kit with LTE with the purchase of any new smartphone from Verizon, or they can select $100 off with the purchase of any new Motorola smartphone from Verizon, right? So there's this kind of traditional partnership bundle play here. Second, the benefit of this partnership is that it now includes cellular data backup for the Ring home security system provided by Verizon, of course, right? So by adding LTE, Ring addresses a potential flaw in its security, which relies on Wi-Fi to deliver alerts and offer real-time video monitoring. So for Verizon, combining their leading network with Ring's products and services really allows them to get more into the smart home tech and really expand into home security from Verizon's point of view. It's also interesting to look at Amazon beyond its official DIY solution. So Ring, of course, right, to other smart products that can help householders feel safe enough without an official security system at all. In September, Amazon announced Alexa Guard Plus, which is a 24/7 emergency helpline that can request medical, fire, police assistance on your behalf. So for about $4.99 per month, it offers both these alert and deterrence features. So for instance, on the alert side, Guard Plus offers, on the alert side, a sound of activity detector, which will listen for doors opening and closing or other sounds that might be associated with unwanted visitors when residents are away. And then Guard Plus offers deterrence features like triggering Alexa to play a recording of dogs barking if a security camera catches someone sneaking around the back of the house. And we just saw how powerful that audio deterrence can be from that great video from Vivint this morning. Just those little whistles, right, that are coming out of their solution, really acting as a proactive deterrent to stop crime and not just watch crime. I thought that was a great message from Vivint. Finally, the Guard Plus will add a new hands-free emergency helpline. So it's run by a third-party company, but it connects the users to emergency services, again, like police or fire departments, or their own emergency contacts. Amazon also announced support for Alexa Guard Plus from a variety of hardware players, including some that are playing in the DIY space, right? Also, some of these hardware partners include Abode, Wyze, Amazon's own Ring, of course, A3 Smart Home, Scout, and Resideo. So lining up a lot of partners for the service. But it does beg the question, at what point does a smart device become an alternative or replacement to a full security system? With what base level of features, base level of services do consumers feel safe enough? And of course, that question does differ depending on the consumer, where they live, their personal experiences with crime or with fire in the past, right? And where is that safe enough? Where do different consumers land? This boils down to the big question of the industry that the industry is grappling with currently. Does DIY expand the market? Will the pie, or the egg in this case, get bigger for all players? Does DIY reach new customers that may someday upgrade to a pro install system? Or does DIY eat into the pro install market, right? And whether it eats into the pro install market or not, does this all mean more business regardless for monitoring services? So we'll be diving into this in more detail in our panel discussion later in the session. Right now, I'd like to see if there are any questions related to this data before we turn to our Visionary Insight speaker. Okay, and we have some questions coming up here. Is the Google ADT deal or the Dish OnTech launch big tech failing to get in the home with pro installs because DIY smart home is just too complex? So essentially, I think if I'm reading this correctly, is it saying that Google's failed in being able to get into the home with DIY because it's too complicated, and so they're looking to get into it through pro install? I mean, I think that that's definitely an advantage, right? Both Google and Amazon now will have channels to the home through pro install channels, right? So Amazon's got Amazon Home Services and a way to offer customers installation options. Google, in aligning with ADT, now has access to a whole network of pro install dealers as a new way to get its equipment into the home. So I think that those are great advantages. Any other questions? Okay. Well, so in just a minute, we're going to turn to our speaker, Raya Sevilla, who's from ADT. We're going to bring her in just a minute to hear her Visionary Insight talk. And then Raya and I are going to have a conversation, and then we're going to open it up to questions from the audience as well. So please be sure to get your questions in, as well as I think we have a few polling questions in the polling tab, so you can take a look at those as well. Okay, we're just about ready to bring in our Visionary Insight speaker. In the meantime, we actually did get one additional question that I can address really quick before we move into that talk. The question is, do we have any data on the connected solutions to the monitoring service, internet versus cellular? The answer is that we do ask, in particular actually in our dealer study, what percentage of their systems are using cellular versus other forms of connectivity. And so we do have that data in our security dealer survey typically annually, and we may have it in our consumer data as well, but our team can also respond on that specifically in the chat. So thanks very much for that question. Also, tomorrow afternoon, I believe our 12:30 to 2 o'clock session is all focused on 5G and Wi-Fi 6 and really looking at that connectivity issue. So really great question, and we're going to be diving into that more tomorrow. So thank you for that. So now I'd like to bring in Raya from ADT, who will be talking about the many new faces of home security. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I can hear you great. I can see you well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Awesome. Now, how do I share my presentation? Sorry, everyone. Oh, there it goes.
You see it.
I see. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Raya Sevilla. I'm the Senior Vice President for Product at ADT. And before I begin, I want to thank all our veterans for their service in protecting our freedoms. We are in the midst of a journey from transforming the smart connected home into a helpful home. Today, we have a myriad of smart connected devices, from coffee makers to rice cookers to microwaves, laundry machines, and my personal favorite, the vacuum cleaner, that the customers can install and activate themselves. One of the definitions of smart from the Webster Dictionary is operating by automation. We have seen a rapid increase in the use of home automation technology fueled by new companies and product offerings. According to the latest research from Statista, the market will approach $40 billion in the US alone by the end of the year. Over half of current homeowners plan to buy smart home products to increase the resale value of their homes. A number of factors contribute to the rise in consumer interest around smart home products, including decreasing price points, household cost savings, and an overall need for convenience and safety. But for a product to be convenient, for a product to be helpful, it has to be more than just connected to the internet. It has to be more than automated via schedule, automation, or routine. A smart, helpful home is more than being able to control your lights, box, thermostats via a mobile app. It has to learn about you, your home, and where appropriate, take action on behalf. And very simple to use. 57% of Americans say that smart products in the house saves them about 30 minutes a day, which roughly translates to a week and a half or 182 and a half hours a year. My current favorite smart device is my vacuum cleaner. It's a time saver. I can control it via mobile app or by voice. It's learned the footprint of my home. It drew a relatively accurate floor plan of my house. I can instruct it to clean just the entire house or just a single room. It's on a schedule. It empties the dustbin by itself. It's brilliant. It's convenient. It's helpful. But truth be told, it took quite a bit of an investment of time on my part to train the vacuum cleaner, to the point that I now find it convenient and helpful. I labeled the various homes in the map, highlighted areas to avoid, set up the voice integrations. The device wasn't auto-magically helpful out of the box, nor was it convenient to use at the start. Although it gathered quite a bit of data about my home, including furniture placement, it's still not learning. For example, it literally gets caught on the same piece of furniture in the same room at approximately the same time. It's right now stuck in my bedroom at the same location because it continually likes to climb the slope legs of my Barcelona chair. When I receive the I'm stuck notification, I know exactly where it's at. All the data that the supposed smart vacuum has gathered, location, frequency of getting stuck at the same spot, and usually at the same time since it's on a schedule, the vacuum still has not learned to avoid my Barcelona chair. Why not? It has all the data. Why do I have to be the one to say avoid the Barcelona chair? It should have learned at this point that it's an area where it gets stuck. Smart home products will soon be ubiquitous. It's actually, I think, probably there now. The key to transforming from smart to helpful is by leveraging the technology and transforming the data into actionable insights, creating a more personalized experience, in turn creating increased safety and convenience. A parallel growth in smart home products is also being experienced in DIY as products become more accessible and affordable. Products such as smart speakers, smart lighting, smart doorbells, and voice assistants are among the most popular consumer devices bought for the home. The aggregated revenue of the global DIY smart home security systems market is expected to reach over $42 billion by 2025. This DIY growth is adding value to the future of the smart home. But DIY is a means of installation and one piece of a true product experience. I believe the discussion of DIY versus professional installation is overanalyzed. They are both vehicles to incorporate the hardware into a smart home ecosystem. The convenience and helpfulness of the product should not be determined by who installed it. To fully achieve the helpful home, we must focus on protocol standardization, interoperability, and ensure each smart home product, DIY or professionally installed, is part of the overall smart home ecosystem. Part of achieving this goal is realizing the importance of data. Smart home products are sitting on mounds of data, but we're only starting to harness this data to create personalized and actionable insights. Further, it's not the quantity of smart home products in a home, but what we do with these products and how we can get them to easily work together. Leveraging meaningful data and understanding household patterns elevate convenience and safety. Whether it's DIY or professionally installed, meaningful insights will be what allows all devices to contribute to a more secure and convenient environment. We're still at the start of smart. We are still at the start of how helpful our homes can be as new technologies become more mainstream with continuing expansive capabilities. We further advance our products through thoughtful, purposeful machine learning, more natural human-machine interactions, and thoughtful design, using data to better understand consumer preferences for how products should be designed and what secondary uses of the product should be incorporated to maximize consumer benefits. Let's transform the connected smart home into a helpful smart home, regardless of who installed the device. We have plenty of devices, connected devices, smart home devices, that are already accumulating massive amounts of data. The next step is to use them more intelligently. By transforming data to information, our homes are able to adapt to our personalized needs. The combination of sensors, internet connectivity, and machine learning allows our homes to become more comfortable, convenient, and secure. Data transformed into insights can help to improve the comfort and peace of mind for consumers. For example, triangulation of multiple data elements can better profile the nature of an alarm, real or false, as well as determine occupancy. Is there someone home? Is there a pet at home? Literally the week before our physical office closed and work from home was highly encouraged, if not mandated due to COVID, I was in New Mexico for an ADT Lifesaver event. It was the bestest and most inspiring experience of my career, not just at ADT, but also my previous experiences at PricewaterhouseCoopers as well as Fairpoint Communications. It was really the bestest day. An ADT Lifesaver event is where we unite the ADT monitoring agent, the first responders, with our customers whose lives were saved. In this particular lifesaver moment, 2 different families in 2 different cities were saved from carbon monoxide poisoning through the use of their smart, helpful home technologies coupled with ADT's professional monitoring. Meeting our customers and their adorable dogs, hearing their recollection of the scary situation from their viewpoint, provided the clarity as to why I work at ADT and my team's purpose. It's building the helpful smart home. It's a seamless customer experience. It's the value of a purposely built device. It's the reliability of our service. It's the human connection. The We Care connection, the ADT agent pleading for the homeowners to vacate their homes. It's the ADT's agent following up a few minutes later to make sure they did vacate their homes. At the same Lifesaver event, I met representatives from the respective fire stations who were deployed to the scenes. Their stories were equally impactful. Our first responders, many of whom are volunteers, are already economically and resource constrained. Reducing false alarms through insightful triangulated data helps to reduce the burden on our emergency responders. We are moving to what we call the 111 platform. A single platform with a single customer experience with a single hardware lineup, regardless of who installs it. So the same peace of mind, the same monitoring service, the same convenience will be provided regardless of how the customer chooses to install the product, whether or not they want to install it themselves or whether or not they want us to install it for them. It will be the same experience and the same value that our customers will experience, regardless of installation method. The key takeaways. The proliferation of connected and smart home devices will continue to grow. In the next 5 years, the most exciting smart home developments will focus on how we can harness data created from our various devices and transform them into personalized insights. Personalized not just to the home in general, but also to specific household members. Leading technology companies are working together to realize the future of the smart home security ecosystem through standardization and interoperability. I can self-install a Nest Hello doorbell or hire someone to do it for me. The same with Ring products. There's an ADT DIY solution, or you can have one professionally installed. The value and helpfulness of the product should not be dictated by who did the install. Who does the install is a factor of comfort level, convenience, economics, motivation level, and time. Some people are comfy drilling through masonry. Some are not. Some people are comfy with electrical wires. Some are not. Some people are really handy. Many, not so much. The product doesn't become dumb, in air quotes, or less smart because it was a self-install, nor does it become more intelligent because it's done by a professional. Whether the device was self or professionally installed, the helpfulness and peace of mind from that product experience should be the same. And let's not forget the importance of the human connection. The same professional monitoring center, the same monitoring agent, handles alarm events without knowing who installed the device. My personal lesson learned from the ADT Lifesaver event: the products and services we create should be more helpful, more intuitive, and simpler to use. But during a crisis, during a life safety moment, the most powerful service we provide is the facilitation of a human connection, a caring connection between our agents and our customers. It wasn't just the security panel or the carbon monoxide detector that got the families and their dogs out of their homes. In fact, both families wanted to turn the alarm off. It was their first instinct. They wanted to switch it off because they thought it was false. It was the persistence of an ADT agent and the timely response of the emergency responders that saved their lives. As we enjoy the convenience that smart, helpful products afford us, let's not take for granted the importance of the human connection. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Raya, for that talk and for those insights, especially on the Lifesaver event. You made me laugh when you said, DIY versus pro is overanalyzed, and I laughed over on my side, like, we're analysts, we overanalyze. But your point was well taken. Is there too much made of the install, right? When the value to the consumer is how useful is it, how helpful is it, and then of course there's still a human touch element that's provided in pro monitoring. Well, we did actually get a few questions from the audience already. I have some questions for us to discuss, but I thought we'd go ahead and take the questions that came in, and then we can continue the conversation as well, just to make sure we get to our audience questions and have that time. So obviously there's a lot of interest in the Google investment, as you probably are no surprise that we got a question on this. How big a role is Google playing for the future of ADT? Huge investment, says a lot already. Is there anything additional you can share there? Any kind of tangible benefits that you think users will really see first out of this partnership?
We're looking forward to connecting our security platforms to various to various Google products. There's lots of things on the roadmap. Obviously, they've got a powerful machine learning engine that we're all looking forward to leverage. They've got voice assistants and cameras. So we are looking forward to integrating quite a number of our product suites together. So more to come on that. Okay.
All right. Great. You also talked a little bit about, you used the term ubiquitous in your presentation, right? That smart home's going to be ubiquitous, or might already be there. And we did have a question kind of following up on that. Is smart home going to be ubiquitous in the future, like utilities, broadband, cellular? I think the same person, is a little slightly different, but is DIY actually helping build awareness of smart home? And will there be a hub in every home that increases penetration of security? So does DIY actually help, increase the awareness for the market overall?
I think it does. There's so many products out there that's so simple to install at this point. I'll take the voice assistant. Whether or not it's the Google Mini or an Echo Dot, you pretty much just plug it into an electrical outlet, download the app, and it's magically up and running. Yeah. So the start of a lot of smart home products, it's helping pull through more, let me call it, complicated to install products. Right, it's the thermostat, for example. I actually don't know a new home, especially whether or not a new construction or a newly renovated home that doesn't have a smart thermostat. It's almost a given to have a thermostat in a newer home that's controlled by your mobile app. Mm-hmm. And so there's quite a number of, whether or not we realize it, there's actually quite a number of smart devices already in the house that we probably have already taken for granted, like the thermostat.
Yep, absolutely. And another follow-up on the Google question, and then I promise we'll get away from it and give you a break on that. But ADT moving to one platform. At the same time, Google is making big investment in them, and this is a very shorthand question, so I'll hopefully summarize in a minute. And shortly after acquiring LifeShield and launching Blue, would love to hear the time perspective of that. ADT moving more towards Zigbee, whereas Pulse has been Z-Wave based. Is there a shift? That's a separate question. Okay, so the first question really is, is there a timing of these investments, right? And ADT moving all to one platform that you can share, at all?
Yeah, the moving to all one platform also obviously requires time, so I'm not going to tell you it happens tomorrow. So there will be a little bit of time for us to move to one platform. But as recently as I believe it's last week during the ADT earnings call, our CEO and CFO has shared publicly that the first set of Google integrations with our professional install as well as DIY is actually scheduled to launch later on in the second half of 2021. So, so people will start seeing integrations between ADT and Google next year.
Okay. All right. Great. And do you have any take on, you know, the Zigbee versus Z-Wave? Is ADT moving more towards Zigbee? Are there indications of that? Looks like Pulse has traditionally been Z-Wave based. Is there anything you want to speak to regarding those standards?
Yeah. So, they're correct. Pulse is Z-Wave based, and Command and Control is also Z-Wave based. We are taking a look at Zigbee. We're taking a look at the Chip Alliance. We're also taking a look at 5G. So we are taking a look at a myriad of technologies to try to figure out what is the bestest technologies for us to grow and migrate to in the future. So for example, there is quite a bit of promise in Chip, quite a bit of promise in 5G, but there's quite a bit of maturation that needs to happen to both. And so we are taking a look at both of them to try to figure out what is going to be the solution that will provide and help us with standardization and interoperability.
Okay, awesome. So one point that you made in your presentation is that we're really just at the start of SMART and really focusing on the value that analytics and AI are likely to increasingly play in moving the experience forward. Obviously, there's a lot of, you know, investment and work that goes to bringing those advanced features to market. Do you think that that is one way that products and solutions will be differentiated, whether it's DIY versus pro or good, better, best? You know, how do you see those more advanced features kind of being productized?
I think that from an industry perspective, when I say industry, it's not specifically the security industry, but let me call it the broader IoT industry. We have to do a better job simplifying the experience. It's not so simple to install the products. It's not so simple to activate the products. There's quite a bit of human interaction still required for that product to become helpful. Mm-hmm. My vacuum cleaner example, it actually took me weeks and months to train the vacuum cleaner, but it's now brilliant, fantastic, but it took investment.
Right.
And so if it just learned a little bit better, it would have required less time on my part. So I think the beginnings of the use of data and analytics, it can start with just as simple as improving the setup experience so that it becomes more helpful, more convenient faster into the process. Then after which, have it grow with the customer to say, hey, it looks as if you're doing XYZ. Let me just turn on the light for you because it's kind of dark. Or, hey, you forgot to, you're turning off your bedroom light. It's around midnight. You have the garage door open. Maybe I should remind you that the garage door is open so you can close it. You know, so I think it'll mature over time. But that's where the learnings of the devices and the learnings of the ecosystems of the home, I don't mean for it to be creepy. That's obviously not my goal. I want it to be helpful. And so, but I think we should start small and simple, which is let's start with the customer experience and the product experience and make sure that the customer, from not just the unboxing, but literally the plugging in and the activation, is also wowed by the event.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and you make a good point. I mean, to do this right, people need to not feel like it's creepy, right? That it's helpful, and that there are privacy, concerns. The promise of AI-based use cases and contextual awareness and services presupposes that we trust our companies enough to share that data with them, right, and allow them into our home. Do you see that being a challenge with the Google integration, given that there are maybe ADT is very much known as a brand around security, and maybe Google doesn't have as strong of a brand there as ADT does in terms of like consumer trust and user trust?
Privacy and security is paramount, no question about it, and everything is an opt-in. It's not an automatic opt-in. The customers have to opt in pretty much for everything. And what we're struggling with, like a good struggle, is we want the customers to opt in at a device level. We want the customers to opt in at a person level. We want the customers to opt in at a location level. So if you actually start to envision the screens, it becomes pretty much very frustrating. It's like, how many things do I have to opt into? So Privacy and security is paramount. However, we do need to figure out how to get the customers to opt in, the devices they want to opt in to share the data on a simple matter. We want them to opt in, and we want them to have a choice. How we display it on apps so it becomes intuitive and very simple for them to turn on and off. That's the challenge we're still facing, but it is for sure opt-in.
Yeah, no, that's great. We had another question that's interesting related to, I think, healthcare. Essentially, when will you be able to, are you looking at the ability to cast care providers, I think is what they're referring to here, and like care providers telecast themselves into the smart home through a video calling feature or some other sort of telehealth platform, and whether or not that's, you know, in your purview.
So I'm not the person responsible for health at ADT, so I apologize for that. But we are looking and exploring at various technologies for health beyond the, you know, I've fallen and I can't get up button. So, right. So we are looking at various opportunities to take advantage of the smart home and the devices and all the technologies out there to advance the aging in place and the health service.
So maybe just a few additional questions here, and then we'll have to wrap up with time. But obviously, this has been a really difficult year. A lot of different changes in the market. From your place in the ecosystem, would be interesting to see, you know, what shifts you've seen in the security market specifically. And your take on kind of what maybe is a blip versus what is more lasting that we can really that the industry should really start planning for, adapting to, moving into 2021.
Yeah, so surprisingly, even with COVID, and you'll see this in our latest financial results, we are actually organically net positive in 2020, even with COVID. Now that can be attributed to COVID plus the current social, political climate, and whatever you want to attribute it to. But is it a blip? I don't think it's a blip. I think as customers are spending more time at home, they are enjoying the conveniences of the products they have purchased before, but maybe have not completely interacted with, because for a majority of the day they're at school or they're at work. And so the fact that they had smart home devices that they didn't interact with maybe once in a while when they were in the office, they did something, but now that they're home, it's like, oh, I've got this thing. It's actually pretty darn useful. So I think the proliferation of the smart home devices in the house, I think will continue. We have seen increases, for example, with outdoor cameras. Now, can you attribute the increase of outdoor cameras relative to safety and the social political climate that we're in? Probably. And so is that a blip? Maybe, but I don't necessarily think the want for example, a video doorbell is going to go away anytime soon. I think that's pretty much turning into a commodity offering and a feature that's pretty much looked for in a home, as opposed to a niche product these days. So I don't want to completely eliminate the fact that outdoor cameras are a blip because of our current climate. I think there's probably going to still be use cases for certain cameras, and especially in perimeter protection. But I think as people have spent more time at home, the conveniences of smart home products, I think, will continue. And as I said, vacuum cleaners, they're wonderful, fantastic. I've been home this entire time and I've spent pretty close to 0 minutes vacuuming.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I thought, as we thought about this kind of at Parks, of trying to project, you know, how is this really going to impact the market? On one hand, you might say, well, gosh, you know, one of the leading value propositions for smart home generally, beyond, of course, security is always a leading use case, is just the convenience of being able to like check in on your home when you're not there. But we're always there now, right? Like we're always at home. So are we losing some of the value proposition of that remote controller, that remote check-in? But it just, you know, pulls out all of these new use cases. Well, now that I am working at home, I want to see who's coming to the door. Do I want to answer it or just keep working? And, you know, it was a salesperson or something. I didn't want to get get the door, right? So it's a shift in use cases, and maybe people are getting to your point, actually experiment or use and experience, right, the value of some of these products that maybe were, maybe were going unused before.
Oh, absolutely. I do have a smart home, a very connected home, and how badly connected my home is, or how extensive the connection of my home is if I lose internet, I'm completely hosed because I don't know which light switch controls what light, because I use voice to interact. So you're right. It's new use case or more or different habits as you get to interact with your products in a more habitual manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we need to bring our panel in now. Sarah, thank you so much for your insights and for the conversation, and for allowing me to pepper you with all these audience questions. So obviously, very interested in your talk and what you had to say. So thanks so much for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, and so with that, I'd like to go ahead and bring in our panelists. And so this next panel really picks up exactly where kind of we left off, talking about the impact of DIY on smart home and security. And so let's see if we just need a minute to bring our panelists in. We'll be right back. Okay, and it looks like we are back and ready to roll here. So I'm so pleased to invite a great panel of experts from across the security and smart home space. I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves and their companies to you. We're going to go ahead and start with Mark Burson, who's the VP of Marketing and Product Management with NICE North America. Hi, Mark.
Okay, get off mute. There we go.
I can hear you, and you can hear me, hopefully.
Yes, I can, Jen. Thank you.
Okay.
As you said, my name is Mark Burson. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for NICE North America, and I joined the company last summer in 2019, and I'm responsible for three brands in North America. That is NICE, Abode, and Security. And globally, we also include Alero and Barbar in our portfolio. And as a preeminent player in the smart home building automation space, we're focused on simplifying everyday movements, and we do that by looking at gestures and interactions, and building products and services seamlessly and integrate and improve quality of life.
Thank you, Mark. Awesome. Actually, maybe I could also push you a little bit further to talk a little bit just about, since there are all these brands that are really in our market with under the NICE group. I know some focus a little bit more on pro versus DIY versus maybe a hybrid approach. I think it'd be great to tell our attendees a little bit about those brands if they're not familiar with them.
Quickly, NICE is a global company that is really focused on everything in terms of automation from smart home and building, and that goes from the perimeter all the way to the garage door and then inside of the premises. So Faro is a professionally installed smart home product. It's very similar to some of the NICE products that we manufacture and sell throughout the world. Abode is our DIY direct-to-consumer smart home security brand. We have security, which focuses on holocaust, VIP mitigation, or anti-terrorist crash barriers, and perimeter security. And then Arrow is for higher end smart shade and blind automation company.
Okay, thank you, Mark. It sounds like we're getting some feedback that I can hear you fine actually, but it sounds like your microphone might not be working. So we're going to ask you to refresh within the platform while we're doing the other introductions. Okay. All right. Well, so thank you very much, Mark. We're so pleased to have you. Next, I'm going to introduce Mike Harris. I asked Mike to introduce himself. He's the president of Ring Solutions. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Quick introduction. Mike Harris. I'm with part of Amazon. I'm here to Amazon. Maybe you can your mic.
What do you want me?
All right, we'll try. So again, I'm Mike Harris. I'm with part of Amazon. My responsibility with Ring is the Ring Alarm security system and product and engineering. I also work with Ring Smart Lighting as well as the Blink group. I won't say more about Ring and Alarm and Amazon. Everybody knows us, so I will move on and let someone else spend some time.
And say we're having technical difficulties, we're going to pause for a minute.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mike. You know, your audio sounded a little bit off too, so we're going to pause the stream and refresh it on our side, and then we'll continue. So if y'all could just hang with us for just a minute or two, we're just going to do a quick refresh so that we can hear everybody well during this conversation. Bear with us. Thanks.